This episode may be surprising to you with what I'm going to say in it, because what I'm going to share with you is an unpopular opinion, unpopular belief, especially these days. Right now, we're living in such a time of divisiveness, especially here in the United States. It's just so divided, and people are in their corners and not wanting to work together. And there are many healthy reasons some people don't want to work together, but I think there are more invalid reasons than there are valid reasons. And especially with it being Pride Month, by the way, happy Pride Month as we round out Pride Month at the end of June, getting into July, wearing one of my Pride caps. See the pretty rainbow YouTubers? See it? I haven't worn this hat in a very, very long time. So it's Pride Month, and there's especially a lot of divisiveness around the existence of Pride Month, what it means to be trans, what it means to be gay, bisexual, etc., the rest of the alphabet, and what people have to say about it, what they want to say about it, the opinions they have. And it's just sad. And unfortunately, a byproduct of some of this divisiveness is a lot of harm being done to many people. So what I want to focus on is, what does Spirit have to say about all of this? What does Spirit have to say about our politics, about our social culture, our political culture, about how we see each other, how we see the quote other side of a debate? And I think some of you may not like what I have to say in this episode, but it is my personal belief, and it's what I feel when I channel Spirit in readings as well. So first thing, everyone is loved unconditionally by Spirit, God, the universe. Everyone is loved unconditionally. No exceptions. Oh, I think my voice assistant thought I was talking to it. Everyone is loved unconditionally, period. From the best human on the planet to the worst human on the planet. I know. And I think this begs the question or the discussion about, why were we created? What's our purpose here? I believe our purpose here in the physical universe is to experience a different version of God, aka a different version of ourselves. Because when we're in spirit form, we are one with God, and that's all we know. And I believe that we created ourselves. We ourselves put into effect this physical form, because as being part of God, we are part creator also. So as creators in unison with God, we created this physical universe so we could experience a different version of ourself. So we could experience what it's like to be not in the energy of love, to then recognize love in the sea of non-love, so that we can see light in a sea of darkness and know the light for what it is, because we're seeing the light against the darkness. And that is what informs, for me, this truth that everyone is loved unconditionally, because we all come from the same one singular energy, the same deity, the same creator, the same universe. We were all created from that. And so when we paint God as this vengeful deity that wants to punish people, I believe we're projecting our humanity onto something that's non-human. We, in our human experience, our human form, experiencing imperfection, experiencing contrast, we want to attribute this energy of contrast to a God that is not participating, to an energy that is not participating in the contrast, that is just spirit form. That spirit form does not know anti-love. It does not know darkness. It is just light. It can recognize the darkness, but it is not the darkness. Or is it? Is it everything all at once? For the sake of simplicity in this conversation, let's just stick to what I'm saying, because my brain can go in a moment. When we paint God or the universe as being judgmental and vengeful, we are projecting our own humanity, our own human attributes and flaws onto something that's not human. God is forgiving and understanding God is a forgiving and understanding creator. If you create something, hopefully you cherish it. And if that thing doesn't do what you want it to do, you may get upset, but you did it. You made it. You have nothing or no one to blame but yourself because you made it. This brings me on to my next point. We all have access to heaven because I don't believe God created us so we could end up in hell for making the wrong decision. I personally don't believe in hell. I'm open to being proven wrong. I used to believe in hell when I was homophobic and really disapproving of my own homosexuality and projecting that through religion and religious practice. But now I don't believe in hell. I believe there's no hell, but I believe there's only choice. We can choose to be close and engaging with God in the universe, or we could choose to be separate from it. And I think about ghosts, and for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to talk about ghosts, define ghost as a soul that is participating a lot in the physical plane, what other people may call stuck. But I don't believe ghosts are really stuck. I believe ghosts have a choice. They can either decide to stay on the physical plane or they can move on to the light. But it's a choice that they have easy access to. There is a book that I always talk about called Conversations with God that had a very controversial take on people doing bad things or bad people and going to heaven. So in Conversations with God, God tells the writer that someone like Adolf Hitler is in heaven. Now, I have a lot of trouble with that. Do I believe it? I do believe it. Do I like it? No, I don't like it. Now, I've said in a past podcast, in a previous podcast episode, that when we become soul form, we are no longer just limited to our human identity that we were just embodying. When I die one day, I will no longer be just Juan Francisco. I will be Juan and all the other versions of me that I have been in my past lives and the lives to come. My soul is not limited to just this lifetime that with this person, Juan Francisco, who made XYZ decisions. The soul, my soul is way bigger than that. So perhaps the soul of someone that we think is evil, the soul of that person is in heaven, but it's not limited to that one lifetime where they were an evil person. Now, because I don't believe in hell, it follows that I believe that people who I think are evil don't go to hell. They go to heaven, or they decide to stick around. But I don't believe in a place of punishment. It doesn't make sense to me. Why would you create a universe and say, you are my creation, do what you want, you have free will, but don't do this, because then I will punish you? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't seem logical to me. So, again, it follows that someone that I think is an evil human being could be in heaven if they so choose to be. And it's an easy choice to make. Choose not to or choose to be in heaven. I know that's going to ruffle a lot of feathers. When I read that in Conversations with God, it was uncomfortable. It still is uncomfortable to me, but I believe what I believe. And even though I won't ever, I'm not going to preach that someone evil is in heaven. I'm not going to make that part of it's not something I talk about a lot, but I do believe that there is no hell. There is no place of punishment. Therefore, nobody gets punished for their wrongdoings. We just have a choice. We decide how we want to live our afterlife. It's totally up to us, so we could change our mind when we want to, when we're ready to. It's why I also believe that we can create heaven on earth if we so choose it collectively. We can make heaven on earth. Now, heaven, the state of being of heaven, no one, unless you've had a near-death experience, no one really knows what it's like. But from what I've learned through channeling as a medium and what I've heard through people's stories is this place of utter bliss and love, unconditional love, feeling welcomed, understanding. Now, there are people who say they've seen hell also, but perhaps they manifested it themselves and created it. We are powerful creators. Again, there's always choice. So if we're able to create heaven on earth, then we're also able to create hell on earth. And I don't know about you, but a lot of days I think, wow, what those people over there in the Middle East are going through, that sounds like utter hell to me. Someone who's starving, scrambling to get food, that sounds like a personal hell to me too. There's so many instances where it feels like hell is on earth, but we could also create heaven on earth. And because we have so long as a human culture left it all up to this deity in the sky with a beard, we're not taking responsibility for our own actions. And we often collectively feel the consequences of the actions of the most powerful. But who put them in power? Many of us did. Another hot take, very hot take I have that's going to be upsetting to some people, but I have felt this since, Donald Trump got elected 2016, maybe since 2018, 2019. I'm going to put it to you this way. The country I live in, the United States, is in its adolescent phase right now. It's figuring its shit out because there's a lot of shit to work through, a lot of reckoning with the past, learning from past mistakes. And I notice that a lot of these things came to light. Past mistakes and wrongdoings, the harms that many who created this country, the harms that they did in the name of democracy and a new country. These are things we need to reckon with. And I don't know if we would have gotten to talking about them like we have the last 8 years if certain people were not in office. Now, before you get upset with me, do I like the fact that Donald Trump is president? I don't. Do I love him as president? No. Do I thank him for being a president and doing all the things he's doing to us and the things he is saying that are so harmful? No. By the way, if you didn't know I was not a Trump supporter, you know now. It should have been fairly obvious. For the last 4 or 5 years, it should have been pretty obvious that I'm not a Trump supporter. However, having him in office has opened up this raw, infectious wound that has never been healed before because we've decided to ignore all the past mistakes we have done. Having him in office has put a mirror up to our faces to say, oh, you thought racism was over and done with in this country? Wait and see. You are all still extremely racist. Or you think that just because you had a black president that everything was okay? Here's a mirror. And look at how you're reacting to having a black president. And look at how you are endorsing someone who decides to harass people, verbally harass people, including a former black president. We have to face ourselves so much through the current politics of this country. And I don't know we would have gotten to this stage of reckoning as fast, as quickly, if all of the last 8 years didn't happen. Do I wish for this to continue? No. Do I want us to learn our lesson hella now? Yeah. So as we are being a teenager country, an adolescent country, because we are a young country, in our adolescence, we are going through a very awkward phase. We're trying to figure out who we are. And the only way we figure out who we are is by learning from our mistakes, making some mistakes, and learning, hopefully, right then and there from them as well. And also by proactively carving out an identity that's separate from the rest of the countries, the rest of the world. Who are we? What do we stand for? Do we stand for the rhetoric we're hearing now in politics? Do we stand for the racism that we see on the internet? I hope not. I believe everything happens for a reason. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Listen, I've told you, I've got some questions for God when I'm at the pearly gates. I got some questions. I think God's up to the task. Love you, God. Not to be mean to you, but I believe God is up to the task. I got some questions. Why do these things have to happen? Why do so many people have to be in harm's way for a point to be made, or for no point to be made? I believe everything happens for a reason, though. And sometimes the crappiest times of our life show us how we can be the best version of ourselves. And that's not just for a person's lifetime. I believe it happens in societies. It happens in communities. And I think that's what we're going through right now. And we have a choice as a country, whether we want to move forward or stay stuck. All about choice. And so much of what we encounter, just as in our personal lives, we have to take responsibility for where we are in our life and see where other people's actions have affected us, but also where we have put up with people's crap. We have decided not to take the high road, and now here we are. Zoom out and attribute that mindset to a society, to a culture, to a country. Same thing. We collectively have contributed to where we are right now. How do we get out of it? Or how do we change it? How do we learn from it? Now, of course, some of you may think, well, I didn't vote for this person, or I did. I hear you. And yet, still, collectively, this is where we are now. So now we have a choice. And we can try our best. And we don't know if we will succeed. Just as in life, you don't know if you're going to succeed in that new venture, that new business you want to launch, that new relationship you're in. You don't know, but you try your best and you go day by day. And at the country level, at the political level, it is a really tough time right now, but we have to try to make a change. I totally went on a tangent, but just to circle back, these politicians I don't agree with, they can go to heaven. They're loved unconditionally by God and the universe. Does it mean I have to love them unconditionally? No, it doesn't mean that. But what I can do is see them for the humanity that they have, even if they decide not to see my humanity. Because if I just don't want the other to exist, and they don't want me to exist, we cancel each other out. So then what? Where's the progress? And it begs the question, are people redeemable? Can people be redeemed? Can they redeem themselves? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I've always told people that I'm happy to sit down with someone who disagrees with me on a social level or is anti-gay. I would be totally down to have a conversation with someone who wants to have a civil conversation, not just shout at me and tell me I'm going to hell or tell me that I'm disgusting. Because there was a time when I was a homophobic person, when I projected my own insecurities onto other people and used religion as my shield. I know what it's like to be sort of on the other side of this argument. And yet I'm here with a gay ass cap on my head, telling you happy pride, doing psychic work, and being a life coach. Liberal AF. But see, even the term liberal, I do consider myself liberal. But once I say that term, then I'm put in a corner. And as human beings, we've decided to put ourselves in these boxes because we're comfortable classifying things. And we're most comfortable when we know what we're looking at, when we know what we're talking about. If it doesn't have a definition or a box around it, then we're less comfortable. So as you vote this November, if you're in the United States, challenge yourself to vote with an energy of love. What does love tell you to do? What does love tell you to do? Not fear, love. And I guarantee you that voting from a place of love, living a life from a place of love, relating to other people from a place of love will get you much further than doing all those things from a place of fear. Because fear is what fuels all the issues we have today. When I channel spirit, actually it happened the other day. I was channeling a soul for this client, and I told them that spirit was showing me, that the soul was showing me July 4th and American flags. And the client said, yeah, he was very patriotic, and he actually was a really big Trump supporter. I'm like, oh, that's surprising, because I didn't expect that from this kind of a soul with the biography this soul had. So I channeled someone who, until the day they died, they were a Trump supporter. Who am I to be like, oh, I can't channel this soul for you, sorry. This soul it's at peace. He is at peace. So this ideology of you're over there, I'm over here, and we're gonna fight to tooth and nail, it's so unhelpful. Does it feel good? Absolutely. It feels good to be messy. It feels good to be dramatic. It feels good to fight. I get it. But what is it really doing? And I remember one time someone told me, well, violence can sometimes be the answer. That's how we created this country. The American Revolution was violent. Okay, yeah, it was violent. And guess what we did after we won the revolution? After we won the war, we created a country off the backs of enslaved people and through a genocide of Native Americans. So does that justify the violence of the war? Like, we just kept doing all the messy things. So this argument that, oh, well, America has always been a violent country. That's how we resolve things. So yeah, that's how we created this country, sure. And then we stole a bunch of people from another continent and enslaved them. And we stole the land from people who were already living here. So cancels that out. I am definitely a pacifist. I know it's idealistic. A lot of people think, nope, violence is the answer. I have known many people in the last couple of years who have expressed openly that violence is the answer to the division that we feel. And I'm just not going to be convinced of that. I'm not. Always open to change my mind, but with the belief system I have, knowing that everyone is loved unconditionally and that we all have access to heaven, it makes the violence seem pointless. Now, maybe tomorrow I'll be reading a political headline, and I go, these mofos, and then I'm in my humanness. So I'm not trying to be perfect here. I'm not trying to be Pollyanna. I'm not trying to say that you have to believe as I believe to be a good spiritual person. You have a right to your beliefs and your opinions. But I wanted this episode to be about something surprising, because these days I do see a lot of psychics who are using their spiritual belief system to justify violence. I see psychics who do mediumship work who are validating acts of violence that are seen in the headlines against people. And it's troubling to me, because I don't know how they're channeling, but when I channel, I don't feel hell. I don't feel any evil place. And apparently I channeled a Trump supporter, which I didn't ask for. It just happened. But you know what? The person that I was channeling for got a very healing message from hearing from that soul. That's all that matters. My preferences don't matter in a reading. Unless it wouldn't be spirit that would bring up anything disturbing. It would be the person I'm reading for, the client, actually. So when our ego gets entangled with our spiritual work and our spiritual belief system, we can use, as many people have in the past, we can use spirituality to justify many acts of violence. The Catholic Church has done that too. So are we any better? So as you consider the divisiveness, the division in our culture, and how controversial something as simple as pride can feel, what it can feel like, I wonder what it would feel like to see the humanity in every person, people we agree with, people we don't agree with. And by looking at their humanity, like I think about some of these politicians who I vastly disagree with, and I think, man, who didn't hug you as a child? Who said what to you as a child that made you this nasty person today? What happened to you? And it doesn't excuse them from their behavior, but it does help me see that behind every action, every harmful action, is a person who did not, who was missing something or is missing something in their life. And they shouldn't take it out on me or on you. But that's what helps me ground myself. Before I go on further of a tangent, I'm going to end it right there. I know this may ruffle some feathers. And if I were hearing it myself, I'd probably have my feathers ruffled too. Because it's bizarre. And I think I'm comfortable believing in something that makes me feel uncomfortable. Because it just makes logical sense to me that there is no hell. Again, why create a sandbox for kids to play in and say, enjoy whatever you want in that sandbox, and say, but if you enjoy that one thing, you're never allowed back out of the sandbox. That doesn't make any sense to me. So I do believe that we all have access to heaven, regardless of our actions on this planet. I believe we're all loved unconditionally. All of us are loved unconditionally. I'll see you in the next episode. This podcast is really about helping you trust your own intuition and step into your power. If you'd like to work with me directly, you can learn more at juanfrancisco.co. That's juanfrancisco.co. And please remember to subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend.